again, I feel like I keep saying this is a little bit different project than what we've seen before. Definitely a landscape, more of a landscape scale project, and a cooperative project now between UW Extension, Ag Experiment Station, and Sheridan College. That's given opportunities for students to get involved in some research as well. And so to give us an overview of this, we've got Jeremiah Vardaman, who is our relatively new extension educator out of Powell. He covers the Bighorn Basin and other parts of the state. And then Keith Clement, who is part of the Ag faculty here at Sheridan College. They're going to give us an update on a relatively long-term study investigating wildlife impacts on forage here. So Jeremiah.
Thank you, Brian. Again, my name is Jeremiah Vardaman. I'm new to the extension system. I'm over in Powell as my office, and like Brian said, I cover the Bighorn Basin and Fremont County for my appointment. This study was done by Gary Moss. He was the leading researcher on this study, and as you heard earlier, Gary Moss has decided to retire for some reason after 30-odd years. So I have taken over the study to finish it out for him. So this study is going to be on the field behind you with the big pivot. The map up here is a representation of that field as well. So either direction you want to look. So you're going to see a lot of tracks up there, truck traffic on the field. You can see where the truck is driven for this study. As you could probably see, that most producers do not want you driving on their hayfield. So that's why we're doing this study here at the research station. This is the third year that this study is going on. This study is funded by the University of Wyoming Agriculture Experiment Station, and it is addressing the needs from those listening sessions. And so Dr. Hess talked about the PARP in the journals that identified the research priorities. This is one of those researches that we're identifying the priorities with. So what we have here is we're looking at the impact of wildlife on alfalfa fields. And this study started in 2013, and we were mainly looking at antelope depredation on an alfalfa field. And we chose that for this location because we have an established alfalfa field up on the hill, and we had about 250 to 300 antelope running on the property at the time. And so that's why we set up this study in 2013, and we have set up 14 cages. You can see the dots are a representation of where those cages fall out in the field. And so we're looking at a cage versus a non-cage plot to assess what it would be under a grazing system versus a non-grazing system. And so we have 14 paired plots throughout that whole field. And we established those plots in the early spring, about green up time, so roughly around March or April. And then before every cutting of that field, we go in and harvest our samples to do the comparison. And so the cages right now are not up because we just got done with first cutting off of that field. They just got the hay moved off, and the cages will be going back up this week, I believe. So that's how the study is going. This is the third year for the study, as I said. And right now, we have not seen a significant impact to the field. That's preliminary results, though, at this time. The reason why we believe that and feel that is because our antelope numbers are down now. So when we started, we had about 250 to 300 antelope. Last fall, we counted 100 antelope on the entire property, not just on that field. And so the study might have been compromised a little bit that way with just the antelope numbers in that regards. The other observations that we've noticed throughout this study is in the spring, or your first cutting, so early summer, June, July, there is not much impact by the antelope. But as the range conditions dry up in the field, so your later August, your second or possibly third cutting, that's when the antelope pressure really seems to move on to the fields for that type of effect on the field. So this is preliminary. This is the last year. We'll be finishing this study up. And I'll probably turn this over to Keith Clement now, and he'll talk about how we're getting the Sheridan College students involved.
Thanks, Jeremiah. As Brian mentioned, my name is Keith Clement. I'm the director of our ag program and an instructor in our range management program here at Sheridan College. And Gary Moss was mentioned, and Gary was one that came up to me one day and said, how can we get the students more involved in the college? And Brett did too. And what a unique opportunity we have here at Sheridan College to have the University of Wyoming Research Station on campus here, to be able to allow our students to work on projects, get some hands-on experience like this right here in research. And so one of the things in the spring, actually, it doesn't seem like it was a real involved research, but a couple of the students that graduated, one that's graduated and one that will be in the range program, Tanner Dockery and Colton Rosales, which I think will be on the poster too, went out and counted numbers this spring, so 2 to 3 days a week. I think one of them had the mornings and one of them had the evenings. I think it depended on if they were night owls or if they were early risers who got the short straw of the stick. But counted the numbers each day, and so numbers were counted of fawns and adult antelope and whitetail on plots on the upper pivot here where the wildlife depredation was done, but also on the other pivots too. So that was part of the data that was collected. And then the clippings, as well as Jeremiah mentioned, in April, July, and then again in October. So some preliminary data looking at that, not a large increase or large use right now, or a large loss of production at this point. But I just want to reiterate with that, with Sheridan College right here, we've got some students here. Colin Cundy, Sheridan College student. Hannah's over here, Jernigan, working on another project here. I know Sarah Leffingwell, I think, is maybe in the kitchen, getting things ready for tonight. And are there other Sheridan College students here that I missed? Our names. Brian's pointing to one. Maybe not. At least 2 or 3, 4, and several other ones that have been working with Sadnan Dekni in the lab here too on the grapevine stuff. So it's just a great opportunity and great collaboration, great connection for Sheridan College and University of Wyoming to work on projects. And I just wanted to express that opportunity that we have for students here. So anything else to add, Jeremiah? Any questions from anybody for either one of us?
I'd like to ask, you said there wasn't much significant difference between in pen and out of pen. What if there had been? What would you recommend it to somebody about something?
Sure. Very good question. So the question is, if we did see a significant difference between inside the cage versus outside the cage, what recommendation maybe we offer from that? What we were trying to attempt with this study was to find an economical threshold or an economical depredation, basically. How much money is a producer losing from wildlife on their property? And we only really could look at antelope. We do have some whitetail here, but it's not enough to really show a significant difference again. But we're trying to come from a producer angle perspective and say, how much money am I losing on my production fields? In terms of what we could offer, that's just useful information for them to sit there and look at their property and say, I'm in one of those depredation type situations. And they can look at fencing. That's not a very good option. They can talk to Game and Fish about compensation. They can go maybe approach the Wyoming Department of Agriculture and see if there's any funding source that way as well.